thereliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Eagle Center Jason Kelsey, a future Hall of Famer, visibly emotional after the wild card loss to the Buccaneers, told his teammates he's retiring, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Dolphins GM Chris Greer indicated he hopes to sign quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to a long-term extension. Tua started every game this season, led the league in passing yards, but he might not be able to help deliver a Lombardi trophy to Miami, according to Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe.
I just don't believe his ceiling for the Dolphins is a Super Bowl. Things basically have to be really ideal for you to maximize his ability. And with that, the maximization and things having to be ideal, that's asking an awful lot, because in football there are things that's going to be less than ideal.
NHL Golden Knights star Jack Eichel week to week after surgery to repair a lower body injury. Arizona is hiring San Jose State's Brent Brennan as its next head football coach. Julian Lewis, top high school football player in the class of 2026, told ESPN he plans to reclassify and enter college in the class of 2025. He committed to USC in August.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you which underdog has the best chance to pull off the upset in the divisional round. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt. Paul
O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Toby Tumplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. We got a lot to do today. Shay Dixon in 1 hour. Sean Salsbury will be here. Jeff Duncan in hour 3. But let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, today is the end of an era on Airline Drive there in Metairie, and I know there are a lot of Saints fans who are going to celebrate today. I understand that. We all want our team to win, and coaches who go into this profession know it is a results-oriented business, which can be cutthroat and cruel sometimes. But Pete Carmichael was fired today in New Orleans, along with several other assistants. Jeff Duncan early this morning with kind of a cryptic tweet that it was going to be a busy day there on Airline Drive. The news started to leak, and a short time later, the Saints confirmed it there, that they parted ways with 3 assistant coaches. It was Pete Carmichael, the longest tenured of the Saints assistants, 18 years in New Orleans. Offensive assistant Bob Bicknell and wide receivers coach Cody Burns also fired today by the New Orleans Saints. But, of course, the focus is going to be on Pete Carmichael, as well it should, because of a lot of the struggles the offense had this year and a year ago, and since the Peyton Breeze era ended. And we all know that change was needed. There are so many analytics that we could look at. I mean, that is part of the way this goes. You could deep dive into whatever advanced analytics you want. I saw this earlier today. Muse sent it to me. There's a guy named Jeff Asher who He did a segment on WDSU with Fletcher Mackel, and Fletcher tweeted this video. You'll hear it. You don't need to see it, but if you see it, it would illustrate it. But you'll get the gist just by listening to it. Here, give a listen.
I think the best example is here. We have a graph of
Stop
along
it.
the bottom.
Stop it. It's in mono, so you wouldn't hear it. Play the audio of it real quick. Go ahead, Muse.
I think the best example is here. We have a graph of along the bottom. This is the pre-snap motion, the percentage of offensive plays where the Saints ran pre-snap motion. That data comes from ESPN Analytics. Along the vertical axis, here we have the percentage of plays that were play action. You can see here the Miami Dolphins, really innovative, had a great year for the Dolphins offense. The rest of the NFL, kind of towards this side. The Saints are this gold dot in the corner. They had the least innovative offense in the NFL.
Thank you.
If you don't
Thank you. That's all you need to know. Like, you don't even have to look at the graph. It's just an L graph, and there's a gold dot way on the far side. That's the Saints. Look, here's the Dolphins. They're really good. That gold dot down there, that's the Saints. They're the least innovative offense. Okay. So we get it. You can go deep dive into all those analytics, and I understand why you would. But what you need to know is a year ago, the Saints were 19th in the NFL in total offense. This year, they were 14th in the NFL in total offense, and you have far too much invested to be that poor on that side of the ball. So you had to make a change. So my hope is the Saints go find someone that can maximize Derek Carr and get this offense going. Because if you don't, Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis, you're running out of people to blame. Sure, Pete Carmichael deserves his share of the blame for what went wrong this year and the last 2 years offensively. But when you keep pointing the finger and you keep having a fall guy, eventually it falls on you. And they're running out of people to blame down in New Orleans. But that is an undeniable part of the story. It was time. 18 years, Pete Carmichael has been there. He has been a loyal lieutenant. And it was time for the New Orleans Saints to make a change and to see if they can fix this thing. And that's fine. And I think we all agree. But I also think that we should take time to acknowledge the good. Because sometimes when things get messy, we focus on the mess and we forget to be thankful for the good. It's like, remember the opening scene of Wedding Crashers when they're in there doing the divorce mediation and they can't get the couple to agree on anything? It's like and then they bring them back to center.
The wedding had to be fun.
You get the decorations, families coming together. That's a nice moment. What'd you have to eat?
Crab cakes. Are you kidding me? How could you not have a good time eating crab cakes? I love them.
So the point is, like, yes, it ended badly. Yes, it was time to go. But you can't ignore all that Pete Carmichael did in New Orleans. And I'm not sitting here telling you that he deserves a lion's share of the credit or even a portion of the credit. Yes, I don't know that I look at the offenses for all those years and think it was Peyton, Breeze, Carmichael. I don't think it was a tripod, and without one of them, it doesn't work. I think you could have removed Pete Carmichael, and Peyton Breeze probably would have been just fine. But he was also an undeniable part of it from the beginning, starting in 2006. Remember, Pete Carmichael was in San Diego with Drew Brees and then chose to come to New Orleans at a time post-Katrina when not many people did. For the reasons we revered, Sean Payton for taking the job and Breeze for signing here and Reggie Bush for embracing the city after he was drafted, and all of that at the time when the city and the region desperately needed it, Pete Carmichael came as well. And he stayed for 18 years and did everything that was asked of him. In 2011, when Sean Payton took that hit on the sideline by the Bucs and busted up his leg, do you remember who called plays the rest of the year? It was Pete Carmichael. And oh, by the way, that was the best offense in the NFL. A year later, Bountygate 2012, Sean Payton's out. Who stepped up? Pete Carmichael. And the Saints had a top 5 offense in the NFL that year as well. So, I look at all the time with Carmichael. You went to the NFC Championship game in 2006. You won the Super Bowl in 2009. You won the division 7 times. You went to the playoffs 9 times. There was so much good during the greatest run ever, and he was there for literally all of it. 18 years, man. 18 years. That dude was part of it. Yes, Dennis Allen and Doug Marrone are still on staff now, and they were here in 06, but both left and came back. Carmichael's been there for 18 years. And he deserves respect and admiration for the job he did over nearly 20 years in New Orleans. Don't let the mess at the end stain the entirety of the run that the Saints had with Pete Carmichael alongside riding sidecar to Sean Payton. I mean, look, there were bad moments. We lived through Beastquake, and we lived through the Minneapolis Miracle, and we lived through the Nola no call. But what marriage, what relationship doesn't have ups and downs? That's part of it. It's just part of being emotionally attached to something. There's going to be good and there's going to be bad. The good makes the bad hurt more, and the bad makes the good even filled with more elation. It makes it that much more glorious when it happens. So, yes, it is time to move on. I am not suggesting otherwise. It is time for the New Orleans Saints to move on. And my opinion is not just from Pete Carmichael. They need to ship Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis down the river as well. It's over. That's how I feel. If they're not doing that today, they're sticking with Mickey. They're sticking with Dennis for another season. They'll run this thing back, and they'll try to make it better. And we'll see who they bring in to be offensive coordinator and replace Pete Carmichael. And whoever that is going to have massive expectations and a really tough job ahead. But yes, it was time to move on from Pete Carmichael. And we should be hopeful and excited about the future, that whoever they may bring in could be the magic unlock to get this offense humming again. But don't let the messy end stain all of the great memories over 18 years. So I wish Pete Carmichael all the best in whatever is next, and sincerely thank him for the 18 years he gave the New Orleans Saints organization, the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and everybody who finds themselves in some way associated with that organization. So Pete Carmichael fired in New Orleans today as offensive coordinator after 18 seasons with the Saints, and the Saints will turn the page now to a completely different chapter. No more Peyton, no more Breeze, no more Carmichael. It's a new day indeed offensively for the New Orleans Saints. Okay, it's After Further Review. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy in Louisiana with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. So next year, when there's a new offensive coordinator calling plays and dialing up tutties in the dome, you can celebrate with the official beer of the New Orleans Saints, Bud Light. Drink easy in Louisiana with the great taste of Bud Light. Certainly, we always appreciate our friends over at Mockler Beverage. I tell you every single day because, Mockler isn't just a company here. They employ 200 families in their facility right there off of Seagan in Baton Rouge. The men and the women who drive the trucks and stock the shelves and give so much of their time and effort to charitable endeavors. Love being partnered with our friends at Mockler and the official beer of AFR, Bud Light. All right, it's After Further Review. Let me knock out a quick break. The obvious next part of the Pete Carmichael conversation is, okay, well, who replaces him? So we'll get to that. There are some obvious candidates and maybe some off-the-radar candidates. So we'll talk about all that. And we'll go around the SEC coming up. Shay Dixon with us in 45 minutes, a five-star cornerback, a transfer cornerback who we talked about yesterday. Was planning to make a visit to LSU. Now it looks like he's not making a visit to LSU. So we got a lot to do, and we're glad you're hanging out with us here. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You probably saw over the weekend that the Tiger Girls, the LSU Tiger Girls, won the national championship down in Orlando. And as a result, Gordon was going to step up big, and that he did. Gordon stepped up and did an NIL deal with the Tiger Girls team captain, Dara Haydet, joining the G team now. The first NIL deal with an LSU Tiger Girl, and as they note, it perfectly aligns with the win at Nationals this past weekend. So continuing to bring attention to female athletes, the G team, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, of course, from women's basketball and so many other great sports. The Tiger Girls dance team with an incredible routine to Smooth Criminal that went super viral, and then congrats to the captain of the team, Dara Haydet, for joining the G team. It's Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside.
Climb on up in the tractor, take 100 laps, wake the kids up after. Get a quick kiss from your baby, then it's time to start the day. It's giving all you got to.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
I hope you're safe out there with this hard freeze. Beautiful day, though. I mean, it's sunny and clear skies and gorgeous. It's cold, but obviously with the precipitation last night caused a lot of the roads and things to freeze. So if you are getting out and about, be safe. But if you're not, man, just turn up the radio, watch it on YouTube or WBTR. We appreciate you for being with us here as we roll through until 6 o'clock and got a ton of meat on the bone today, so we're going to get to all of it. Shay Dixon's going to be with us to start next hour, and I want to talk about this. We told you yesterday that about Desmond Ricks. If you remember, Desmond Ricks, former 5-star recruit who had LSU among his 3 finalists when he was coming out of IMG Academy down in Florida. It was LSU, Florida, and Alabama. Ultimately, he picked Alabama. Well, after 1 year at Alabama, Desmond Ricks went into the transfer portal. So he's formerly in the portal. And the thought was initially, that LSU would be heavy after Desmond Ricks. And with good reason. We've talked about it. I've kind of said I thought for LSU, you look at receiver, which they added over the weekend with C.J. Daniels. That was sort of a want. I think cornerback, linebacker, probably a need, and then interior defensive line would be a must. Like, you got to add a body there. Well, not surprisingly, considering LSU recruited him heavily just a year ago, Zach Blostein from 247 Sports tweeted on Monday night, that Desmond Ricks, former 5-star recruit, tells me he's likely visiting Texas A&M and LSU this week. So nobody better to trust than the source. This guy from 247 Sports says he spoke to Ricks, who said he plans to visit LSU and Texas A&M. Well, that made a lot of sense and was fantastic on its face. And I used the past tense because the same Zach Blostein tweeted earlier today on Tuesday, Alabama defensive back transfer Des Ricks tells me he's no longer visiting LSU this week. Oregon and Ole Miss are possible visit destinations after his trip to Texas A&M. So it would appear as though Desmond Ricks has Texas A&M as his leader. Lane Kiffin, with all of the focus on the transfer portal, looking to get him to visit Ole Miss, and then Oregon and Dan Lanning, of course, who had been at Georgia, as we all know the story there, trying to get Ricks to take a visit out west. So we'll see how that goes. I do want to ask, so when Shay's here next hour, I want to ask a little deeper about that. What happened with Desmond Ricks? Is there a chance they could still get him on campus? And then the other part of it is how difficult is it to try to go recruit cornerbacks or defensive backs out of the portal when you don't have defensive back coaches? Now, Blake Baker is your DC, and he certainly could coach safeties, has coached safeties at Missouri. But as I understand it, Blake Baker is most likely to coach linebackers at LSU. But again, until they set this staff and the finality here, there are still roles to be determined. So I'm curious. We'll get that conversation with Shay coming up here in the next hour, about 40 minutes from right now. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us here. There's the conversation about the New Orleans Saints and Pete Carmichael being fired clearly shifts to who's next. And I do have some names. I'll touch on that here in a second. We're brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement. You can always find them at Michelli.com. That's Michelli.com. As we always say, if you're thinking about a career in 2024, maybe that's your New Year's resolution. No more job hopping, job to job. If you're looking for a career, Michelli Weighing and Measurement could be exactly the right target for you. Go to Michelli.com, hit the careers tab at the top when there are jobs available, and they're looking at any of their locations. All of them, there are 30 different locations across 11 different states. You go to Michelli.com, hit the careers tab, and you'll see all the jobs available. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. If you weigh or measure something, they sell, service, rent the products you use to weigh and measure. ISO 17025 accreditation is available. I'll tell you that every single day. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. I don't think the news, if you're just joining us, we opened the show today reacting to the Pete Carmichael news. Saints fire Pete Carmichael. I don't think that this should come as any tremendous surprise, but there were moments throughout the season where we sort of knew the writing was on the wall. Back on October the 6th, Pete Carmichael met with the media, and look, he fell on the sword and took blame for the struggles with the offense up until that point. Okay, just trust me that he did. And do you have Dennis Allen? Okay, play Dennis Allen. This was Dennis Allen a day before October the 5th when he was asked about Pete Carmichael and Derek Carr.
Putting together a good plan for New England. I feel great about what we've done so far. We're going to keep working extremely hard to put our guys in the best position to be successful. We're studying the heck out of New England, both offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. And then we'll go out there Sunday and have a good plan and go attack them.
And there were moments throughout the season, obviously, look, that he mentioned New England. That was a nice bounce back for the Saints when they came back and beat New England. Of course, they blew the lead in Green Bay. They played Tampa, had maybe their worst game of the year, and then a week later went on the road and played really well against New England and shut out the Patriots. Now, the Patriots were a terrible football team this year, but they had those moments. And, of course, the Saints did finish strong. But there were also other moments, like when Derek Carr and Pete Carmichael had their outburst on the sideline back in the middle of October. Here was Derek Carr after that.
I apologized to Pete, actually, on the airplane, because I was talking to Pete, but I wasn't talking about Pete. Pete and I know exactly what I was talking about and why. And, when the game's on the line, that's when you have to be on every detail of your assignment. And I was a little upset at some of those things, and so it had nothing to do with Pete. He just happened to be the one that walked up when I was a little angry.
There was a lot of that this year. We're gonna have Jeff Duncan with us in hour 3, and I'm really excited to talk to Jeff first because Jeff this morning is the one who first tweeted that it was going to be a busy day on Airline Drive. Clearly alluding to what transpired. But Jeff also literally wrote the book on the Peyton Breeze era. And as a result, I'm curious, what Jeff thinks about Pete Carmichael's role in the offense over these last 2 decades. I mean, like literally, Jeff Duncan wrote the book, Peyton and Breeze, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. he doesn't include Pete Carmichael in the title. So how significant was Pete Carmichael's role? We'll get Jeff Duncan's thoughts on that. And also, what direction they may go next. I mean, everybody could throw out names, and I can throw out names. I mean, the most obvious name is John Gruden, right? John Gruden, who we talked about last week, the Saints, met with him in Tampa when the Saints played down there in Week 17. And Gruden's a guy who we all know by now coached Derek Carr for 3 seasons with the Raiders, and they were Carr's most productive seasons of his career. So if you have an opportunity, as we've talked about, to maximize Derek Carr, the $100 million investment you made in Derek Carr, then yeah, I can understand that. With John Gruden, there's also the question about the reason for which he was fired with the Raiders. Is he going to be welcomed back into the NFL in that capacity? So I think Gruden is an obvious name to mention, and I don't know if the Saints play. Sort of the word prior was, would the Saints be interested in hiring John Gruden, or would he just sort of be in an analyst, sort of assistant offensive coach type role? I don't have the answer to it, but Gruden's an obvious one to mention. Ronald Curry is another name, a guy that's on staff that is clearly going to get a lot of run. Curry is currently the Saints passing game coordinator and the quarterback's coach. He's been in New Orleans since 2016 now. And he's worked his way up from an offensive assistant. And remember, in the preseason this year, the Saints, it was an interesting they did in their preseason games. They let the other guys take turns calling plays. So Curry, while he hasn't been a play caller, did have that opportunity in the preseason early this year. And remember, last year he coached in the Senior Bowl as well. So there's something to be said for, look, I mean, you got to have a first time to have your first opportunity. So maybe this is it for Ronald Curry. I don't know, but he'll certainly be a name that you hear. And then there's always going to be guys who are affiliated with other organizations that that you try to pluck some of their success in the same way that Mike McDaniel being hired by the Dolphins was sort of trying to pluck from the Shanahan coaching tree, which makes a lot of sense. And all those guys were on staff together, Washington with McVay and everything. So I mean, you can look at those coaching trees. You could look at Zach Robinson, with the Rams, who's their passing game coordinator. I think Clint Kubiak is probably another name that you're going to hear a lot, and not just for the New Orleans coaching job, but for any. I mean, Clint Kubiak right now is the 49ers passing game coordinator, and they're in the postseason. So it's unlikely that you would be able to even interview Kubiak until the 49ers season came to an end, but he's been a coordinator already. He was the coordinator in Minnesota there with Kirk Cousins, and Cousins in 2021 with the Vikings had a great season. The 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, threw for over 4,200 yards. Well, that was Clint Kubiak calling the plays. That's Gary Kubiak's son, that you could probably imagine. So, those are some of the names that you're going to hear initially, and those are the names that are probably going to be up for every job. The guys who are going to be up for coordinator positions as you start to stair-step through the professional ranks. But it's going to be a new day in New Orleans, as we know, and whoever is next is going to have a tall task, because you're probably coming into a situation with a coach that feels like a lame duck coach. If the Saints don't dramatically improve next year, Dennis Allen's probably out, and whoever he brings in is probably out with him. So how desirable is that job to begin with? It's a fair question to ask. So we'll keep an eye on it here in Hour 3. We'll get Jeff Duncan's thoughts as well on who he thinks the Saints should or might hire. But for the first time in a long time, Saints are looking for a new offensive coordinator. Okay, it's after further review. We'll knock on a quick break and go around the SEC. Got an update on the coaching staff there in Tuscaloosa as Kalen DeBoer has hired his defensive coordinator. We'll update that as we go around the SEC. Stick around here on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Of course, shared some info with you yesterday that Miss Teresa had sent from over at Clegg's with the freeze coming and how people could handle their plants. Obviously, the freeze has happened now, so I don't know that it would do you a tremendous amount of good to try to cover the plants or the trees at this point. But when the freeze is over, one thing that at Clegg's they are advising is you don't need to be in a hurry to cut back your damaged plants. You really should wait until spring to do any pruning. So when the freeze is over, don't run out with your pruning shears and go cutting your plants and your shrubs, because if you prune too early, the plant may actually resprout and then freeze again with the next cold spell. So really, it's just wait. Just wait until the spring to do any pruning. There's always great information. If you're not sure what to do, just get by Clegg's. I always encourage you to take pictures of your plants, your flowers. They usually have great ideas for you. It's Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dane Brugler. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Here's a dusty old car, hard and a light in the barn. He'll work the late hours and he's up before dawn. Every man has a story.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Hey, Muse.
Yeah.
Don't ever play this one again.
Not a fan of this one?
No.
Yeah, it's actually the first time I've heard it.
I mean,
She's got a good voice.
It's Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We play tractor songs. Just play She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy every break.
We can't do that every break.
Yes, you can.
It's too much.
You're the guy who said, you can't play Barbie Girl as my drop. Yes, you can. It's one day a week. It's worth it.
Blind squirrel with the Barbie Girl thing.
Oh, really? That's where you're going to go with that?
Broke clock twice a day. I don't know, man. That's a lot of She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy. We'll give it a go.
Never play this one again. This is not the vibe we need.
We'll scratch it off the list.
Yeah. We'll take him off then. Okay. Now, get rid of that. Thank you. But shout out to Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Not just tractors. They got your zero-turn mowers, hunters. They got your gators as well. You know that. It's John Deere, and nothing runs like a deer, right? So we got everything lit up in green here. Proud to be partnered with Sunshine. 17 locations, Bunkie and below, sunnyquip.com, sunnyquip.com. We're going to go around the SEC in just a quick second. This is certainly relevant for around the SEC, and this just becoming official. Ohio State has made it official that they have hired Ross Bjork as their new athletic director for the Buckeyes. So Ross Bjork, of course, who had been at Ole Miss, was hired to replace Scott Woodward at Texas A&M when Woodward came to Baton Rouge. Ross Bjork now, who's been the AD at Texas A&M since 2019, is headed to C-Bus. He'll be the new athletics director beginning July the 1st there at Ohio State. So good luck to Ross Bjork. I really don't care. Of greater consequence, obviously, is what Texas A&M does because they are in the SEC. And Ross Bjork had certainly, you could argue some highs, but, man, he's also the guy that extended Jimbo Fisher. I know that Scott Woodward gave Jimbo the initial contract, but it was Bjork after 2020 that extended Jimbo after the COVID year, a 9-win season in that COVID year, that fake football year. And, man, that was the huge error, was that extension. And it was the worst error, the most costly error in the history of college football. I mean, literally, it was a $76 million buyout. So, I look back at what's happened there and transpired in College Station. He did hire Jim Schlossnagle away from TCU to be the baseball coach, but generally athletic directors don't stake their reputation and their legacy on baseball hires. Generally, an athletic director is hired to hire a football coach, and Ross Bjork got to do that after making a $76 million mistake there on Jimbo with the extension, but hired Mike Elko, and I would assume that Mike Elko will be Ross Bjork's lasting legacy there. It is interesting that he continues. I mean, certainly Ross Bjork must be highly regarded if he continues to advance his career professionally. But I can certainly understand why you'd make that move, and why, while A&M has money and resources and is in the SEC and all that, A&M just doesn't have the championship pedigree across the board that Ohio State does. So that probably stings to hear, but to go to the Big Ten and to go to Ohio State is an advancement from Texas A&M, even though A&M has resources. They just don't have the championship pedigree. That's really the big difference with the two. Okay, so Ross Bjork, effective July 1, will be the new athletic director at Ohio State. A&M now looking for his replacement there in College Station. We'll go around the SEC in just a quick second. Brought to you by Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. A couple of things. Number one, of course, with the freeze last night, there always can be dangerous situations that could cause damage to your roof. Most often what we see is there are branches overhanging homes that freeze, snap, fall on the home, and that can cause roof damage. If you had a branch snap, fall on your home, call us at Hudco. We'll come give you a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. Also, with freeze, ice, snow can also cause damage to your shingles as well. When we thaw out, we'd love to come give you a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. It's Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know, commercial or residential. Mention the commercial jobs as well. If you have a commercial building, you need a re-roof, or remember, if you have a metal roof, Hudco has a silicone coating product, roughly half the cost of a roof replacement, that comes with a 20-year warranty. I tell you every day, do business with someone you know. That's Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com. Okay, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Kalen DeBoer has his new defensive coordinator. It is Kane Womack, who resigned as the head coach of South Alabama to become the defensive coordinator at Alabama. DeBoer and Womack worked together on Indiana's staff back in 2019. Womack's 36 years old, just finished his third season as South Alabama's head coach. They were ranked 15th nationally in total defense in 2023. As far as the offensive side, DeBoer is expected to bring offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb with him from Washington.
the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vandy special teams coordinator and associate head coach and tight ends coach Justin Lustig is leaving Nashville to become the special teams coordinator at Penn State. Special teams analyst Jeff LePack will be promoted to take over the position there on Clark Lee's staff. The Commodores have had a large amount of turnover on their coaching staff in the offseason. Offensive coordinator Joey Lynch was fired. Defensive coordinator Nick Howell and defensive backs coach Dan Jackson were demoted, eventually left the program. And offensive line coach A.J. Blazak left for a job at Wisconsin.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Former Auburn quarterback Robbie Ashford has transferred to South Carolina. Ashford spent the 2020 and 2021 seasons playing for the Oregon Ducks. In 2 seasons at Auburn, Ashford appeared in 22 games under center. Ashford will come to South Carolina with 2 years of eligibility remaining.
Texas A&M!
A&M defensive end Shamar Turner has not petitioned the NFL for entry into the draft, meaning he will return to Aggie Land for his senior year there in 2024. Turner started 12 games of his junior season, had 6 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss this past season. Just finished his 3rd year in College Station, was rated as a 5-star prospect, the 21st prospect nationally.
The Florida Gators.
And 4-star edge Jalen Wiggins became the latest name to join the Gators in 2025 recruiting class, his second commitment for 25 in as many days. 6'4.5", 245-pounder Wiggins, the number 3, a commitment number 3 for the Gators 2025 class, the number 55 overall prospect in the country, the number 5 defensive lineman. Okay, there you have it. That is around the SEC. We are glad to have you aboard with us here. I guess this is maybe a former around the SEC, but there's more transfer portal news. TJ Finley today hit the portal. Of course, you know, from Ponchatoula, who started his career at LSU, transferred to Auburn, where he had been the past couple of seasons. This year was at Texas State, where he threw for over 3,000 yards, got Texas State to a bowl game. Well, Finley going back in the portal now for his final season of college eligibility. Of course, the COVID year, everyone got a free year. So really, Finley just finished his 3rd year of eligibility. So he will have a 5th year available, the COVID year in 2024, that apparently he will take advantage of. And it makes sense. He started at LSU, lost the job to Max Johnson, went to Auburn, played sparingly. Ultimately, Auburn went a different direction. Finley went a place at Texas State where he could play and had a fantastic year. I mean, he threw for 24 touchdowns this year at Texas State, got Texas State to a bowl game and won it. So he should have a lot of suitors as a 5th-year player in 2024. So wish TJ Finley all the luck. There's a lot of people. I saw a lot of the responses to that tweet, like, can't believe he's in the portal again. The portal madness needs to stop. I'll say again right now what I say every time a question of the transfer portal comes up. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why the portal madness needs to stop. Tell me why TJ Finley shouldn't be allowed to transfer again. Tell me why. Give me one good, salient argument as to why. Because for as long as we've had this conversation about transfers, no one has been able to answer that question. The only thing people don't like about the transfer portal, it inconveniences coaches. And I ain't crying over coaches that make millions of dollars trying to keep their roster together. And you don't like the fact that you recruit a guy, sign him, and he can leave. But ask yourself this. If you are bemoaning players entering the portal, then why are you celebrating your roster, your team, signing players out of the portal? You can't have it both ways. Tell me why. Give me one good reason why a player shouldn't be allowed to transfer. Coach can sign a contract extension and a week later be gone? I mean, Jed Fish just did an interview with Jim Rome 8 days ago. Said, I have no intention of leaving Arizona. A week later, he's the coach at Washington. That's okay? But you're gonna chain college kids to a campus? Come on. Get out of here. Get out your feelings, grown-ups. Be grown-ups. Well, it's about loyalty. Really? Tell the adults it's about loyalty. Loyalty. Stupid. I'm not saying loyalty stupid. I'm saying if that's your argument, that's stupid. Give me a reason. Somebody tell me. Give me one good reason why. I've yet to hear it. In all the years we've talked about this, not a single person has given me one good reason why you shouldn't be allowed to transfer. You know what I get? Well, I just don't like it. Well, what are they learning about sticking with it? Life lessons. It's all abstract crap. How about this? They have an opportunity with being a year's more educated on how things work to now make an even better decision about their future, where they can go, who they can play for, how they're going to be able to improve their game, their life. It's hilarious that adults try to hold 18, 19, 20-year-olds to a different standard than you would hold adults to. Give me a reason. Somebody, give me a reason. All right, well, now I got a break. Come back. You want to join us, you can. Email us, tweet us, text us, 225-396-4400. 396-4400. Speaking of coaches and their contracts that don't mean anything, have you heard what Jim Harbaugh is trying to do in Michigan? We'll get to that when we come back. And I saw the most beautiful thing on Twitter.com today. Almost brought a tear to my eye. I'll share it with you next. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty, the fastest growing real estate company literally ever. And I tell you every day that if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, you need to call Darren James, because nobody sells more homes than Darren James. On the Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1% of realtors in America. But Darren recently made the move to LPT Realty, which in 1 year has gone from 1 agent to 7,000 agents. It is the fastest growing real estate company literally ever. And if you are a realtor or thinking of becoming a realtor, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to learn more about LPT Realty, because the communication, the marketing, all of that is exceptional. But the benefit comparison between LPT and other companies is unparalleled. You need to learn more. Call Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dane Brugler. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Well, I heard he needed some help on the farm. Somebody with a truck and 2 strong arms, not scared of dirt and willing to work till the sun goes down.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the last segment, I told the guy sitting next to you to play a song every break. Remember what that song was?
Oh, that would be Big Green Tractor?
Paulie, what was the song I told him to play?
Am I wrong? Big Green Tractor?
No, that wasn't one.
Just turn it off. I got too much to do. Anyway, Muso's completely defying me. It's a complete act of defiance after I specifically told you. So I know Paul's not listening to anything I say, and you don't do anything I say. So what am I doing here? What are we doing? You guys want to do it? Here you go, Muse. Here's the show prep. You just take it from here. I'm gonna go hang out in the cold the rest of the day. And I was in such a good mood too, Muse, because I was about to talk about LSU's baseball uniforms, and now you pissed me off. But they are beautiful. LSU, it's like team photo day, and so they took their team photo, and they're all whites, and they're stunning. Something that so few of you care about, but I do, and since it's my damn show and I'm in a mood right now, I'm going to talk about it anyway. They added piping to the uniform. What they looked like BP jerseys before. You have to have piping. So for those that don't know, the piping, it's like the thin stripes that go up the button and around the neck, and they just look beautiful. And then you have, the piping down the pant leg as well. It's just a beautiful look. The block tigers across the chest in purple outlined in gold. That is a gorgeous, timeless, classic look that the national champion should be wearing. So I salute whoever made the decision finally to bring back the piping. Now, if they're going to wear the all grays, you need to have the piping on that as well. That is an absolute must. Muso, against my better judgment, because I'm pissed at you right now, I am going to ask you a question. Give me, because you actually watch some of fall baseball, give me one newcomer you're most excited to see when they start practice in less than 2 weeks.
Gage Jump, because it looks like he could end up being the Sunday guy, and I don't think many had him as that guy coming off injury, but they extended him a good bit, man, and he looked really, really good from the left side.
UCLA transfer. He was on the D1 Baseball's list of the top 50, or Perfect Game, one of them. They're listed the top 50 juniors in the country. LSU actually had 4 of the top 43 with Tommy White, Gage Jump, Luke Holman, and Thatcher Hurd was the other one. So, I mean, your entire rotation was there. I mean, a lot of people are probably surprised when I say this, but and I think you would agree. I think look, you lose Paul Skeens, you lose Dylan Cruz. Those are the 2 best players in college baseball last year. But this team is actually going to be deeper than they were a year ago. I would say Cam Johnson is the one, just because you don't see 6'5", 240-pound lefties that throw 100 show up on college campuses ever. So I want to see that guy a lot. And I'm excited to watch him for the next 3 years. I'm so short on time, but I want to talk about this Harbaugh thing, and I don't have a lot of time, and you may not care deeply, so I don't have to go too deeply into it. But Jim Harbaugh, is interviewing for NFL jobs, but he is really trying to hedge. He continues to work on a contract extension with Michigan, but get this. Harbaugh got popped this year and was suspended for 3 games and yada, yada. At the beginning of the season, and then there was the stuff that came later in the season with Connor Stallions and all that. He's working on a new deal. Michigan's already offered a guaranteed 6-year deal worth $11.5 million annually. That would make Jim Harbaugh the highest paid coach in the country. And Michigan's about to increase his buyout to $4 million a year. Well, Harbaugh's buyout on January the 11th dropped to 1.5. So Harbaugh wants to hold off on the buyout until February 15th. So the buyout doesn't go up until February 15th. And he wants guarantees that includes a termination clause that if Michigan is hit with NCAA violations, and he's already been hit with level 1 accusations, but if they are convicted of those, that Michigan can't fire him for cause if they get hit with NCAA violations. So, hey, look, when you bring a program, the first national championship in 26 years, and you got every NFL team that has a vacancy pursuing you, you can ask for the moon and stars, and you just might get it. So Michigan's in a tough spot. We'll see what they elect to do if they pony up for Harbaugh. All right, Sports Center's coming up. We get you caught up on national headlines. We'll come back. Shay Dixon will talk some LSU recruiting with us next. It's AFR.
AFR.
If you are thinking about buying land, your first call needs to be to First South Farm Credit. They have been first in agriculture for more than 100 years in Louisiana. It's First South Farm Credit. You know, it's a time of year where hunt season's kind of wrapping up, and so many people who lease during hunting season, you leave your lease and you think, man, I would just love to own my own place. Well, your first call needs to be to First South Farm Credit. They can make it happen. If it's 10 acres in St. Francisville, 20 acres in Zachary, where you're thinking, I'll build my piece of property, I'll build my dream home, that I'll raise my family and my grandkids will come forever, or you want 1,000 acres for farming, you want that hunting property, your first call needs to be to First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthland.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. One day after walking out of a news conference when asked about his contract, Mike Tomlin told Steelers players and coaches today he plans to coach the team in 2024. ESPN's Adam Schefter's reporting Eagles center Jason Kelsey told his teammates he will retire. Asked if he's concerned about his job status, Eagles coach Nick Sirianni said he's not thinking about that. He's thinking about the guys in the locker room. Quarterback Jalen Hurts' answer to if he wanted Sirianni back for another season, he didn't know his coach was going anywhere. Philadelphia needs to think beyond 2024 when it comes to a call on Sirianni, suggests ESPN's Louis Riddick.
Is he really the guy that you want leading the charge going down the stretch here in terms of like a couple of years from now? Or is Bill Belichick in play? Is that the kind of guy who needs to be in play here? Because personally, I think it's something that you definitely have to consider.
Belichick has interviewed for the Falcons head coaching job, his first known interview since mutually parting ways with New England. NHL Golden Knights leading scorer Jack Eichel, week to week after surgery to repair lower body injury. NBA Kings coach Mike Brown fined $50,000 for criticizing referees during and after Sunday's loss.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you which underdog has the best chance to pull off the upset in the divisional round. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tumpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Sean Salsbury, 1 hour from now. Jeff Duncan will be here next hour as well. The gigantic news today, the Saints have fired Pete Carmichael, the longest tenured offensive coordinator in the NFL, 18 years with the New Orleans Saints. Pete Carmichael fired today, as were senior offensive assistant Bob Bicknell and wide receivers coach Cody Burns. We opened up the show today with reaction, some potential candidates to replace as well. You can catch that on demand, always AFR On Demand, presented by Breck Golf. Book your tee time, golf.breck.org. We got a ton more to get to. Jeff Duncan will be here next hour. And there is more news as well today, as the Giants, the New York Giants, have announced that they've hired Joel Thomas as their new running backs coach. Joel Thomas now was the Saints running backs coach, went to New York for an interview with the Giants for the same position, and is leaving New Orleans for New York. So yet another Saints staffer leaving today on a very busy day there on Airline Drive. Man, I saw the news that Desmond Ricks went into the portal, and after former 5-star after one season at Alabama, and LSU was so hot after him a year ago, you can't help but just immediately think, all right, they're going to go after him now. And it looked good, and then it didn't. Shay Dixon from On 3, the Bengal Tiger, joins us now, as he does most every Tuesday here at the top of Hour 2. Shay, we appreciate you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt? Thanks for having me.
Of course, always. What happened here with the Rick situation? What can you tell us?
He entered the portal after kind of meeting with Bama staff and talking about things and what it would take to keep him, and ends up going into the portal and pretty quickly had said, hey, look, these are the teams I'm looking at, and he said LSU was one of them. It makes sense. He was looking at LSU a year ago, and he really went to LSU and chose Bama. And I think after some conversations on Monday night, just kind of about what it would take to get him there and what all he was looking for, he was going to set up a visit. LSU said, we're good, kind of, and he then confirmed it and said, I'm good then, and his only visit now is A&M. He's on A&M's campus right now. So in the NIL world, make that what you want in terms of kind of how kids are talking about when they get into the portal, what they're looking for. And I think obviously right now he's banking his value off of what he was ranked in high school, given for Alabama this year, he played fewer than 10 snaps all season, just 2 games played.
So I don't want to misunderstand, but I also don't want to press. But essentially, Desmond Ricks goes in the portal. You kind of make it known what it's going to take to get you, and schools are either willing to play ball or they're not. And apparently, LSU wasn't. Am I oversimplifying that?
Yeah, I think that's simplified enough. I think from talking to people around a couple of schools and then around the Ricks recruitment, it was the same conversation he had with Alabama. And whenever they said, okay, well, then go ahead and transfer out. So I think Alabama and LSU are in similar spots here until how they answered the request.
You know, Shay, I know there were a lot of LSU fans that pushed back on me when I said it, but it's a similar thing that happened with Zalance Hurd. I mean, these guys are very highly recruited out of high school, but how can you really justify whatever their dollar number is if that person's going to be a backup and haven't done it on this level? So someone may pay it, and this is the culture that we have in college sports right now, but that's what it is. So it doesn't seem like this was the case here, but I am curious, Shay, ear to ground, what you're hearing about LSU's staff and the impact that may be having on recruiting either out of the portal or the high school ranks, that being that the staff still isn't finished?
I mean, outside of portal, and really right now, you're coming up against the window where the only kids who are still entering the portal are kids who are on Bama or on Washington, who had head coaching changes that then activated that 30-day window where they could hit the portal. Other than that, they've seen everybody that's out there. It's one of those things, like, for instance, right now, a DB coach is what we're waiting on defense to be named or hired, or 2 DB coaches, whatever direction they go. A corner and a safeties coach is what they typically have had. And there's only one guy left in the high school crop that they're recruiting that plays DB. That's Terry Bussey. He told us at On3 today, told Sam Spiegelman, that his visit to LSU will be January 31st, and then he'll sign the next week. He's currently committed to A&M. He's been committed to A&M for a while. He just didn't sign there in December because they had staff changes. He just wanted to see how everything shook out. So if you're worried about, like, are we going to lose recruits over this? Well, there's no one really out there right now beyond that one guy. And if he's not visiting for 2 more weeks, that's plenty of time for a coaching search to continue. We saw in just a week span, then get Bo Davis and Blake Baker and Peoples. So I would guess that by the 31st, whenever a guy like Bussey, a 5-star DB, actually makes his way to campus, who is for this year, like who is a senior, who needs to decide, that a DB coach will be in place. So I think they're fine there. And regardless, I think that we all operate under the understanding that at this level, you're not rushing a coaching hire over any other factors like 1 or 2 players being out there. They can obviously talk to other people on staff or kind of get a feel for the direction you might go. But I do think that within 2 weeks, by the time a notable senior gets on campus that plays DB for a visit, that they'll have, coaches in place.
Okay. It's interesting, Jay, because a year ago, I reference this often, but the Brian Polian change didn't come until late February last year. So it was after the February signing day.
Yeah, remember, Saban didn't hire an offensive or defensive coordinator until late February a year ago, whenever Kevin Steele and Tommy Reese were named coordinators. So everyone sort of moves at their own time frame and kind of aren't handcuffed by fans wondering every day, is today the day, and if player X is going to be available or not. I think it's just one of those things where you want to get the hire right, then everything else falls in place.
Is Shay, I know we talk about it a bunch, but I'm curious how much that may impact the whole recruiting process, where that timeline. Like, what do coaches let me say it another way. When coaches are talking to recruits, Brian Kelly, his staff, they're talking to recruits right now, and there aren't position coach or OC, whatever field. What kind of conversation are they having with a recruit about those openings?
I think typically it'll be, hey, look, we're going to go out and hire the best guy that's out there, and then you point more towards the foundation of, look, this is what we built, this is what we're working towards, and other coaches on staff can chip in. I'll give you an example. Look, they flipped 5-star Dominic McKinley from A&M, and they didn't have a D-line coach. They did it on January 1st, and he's the number 1 player in Louisiana, and he joins the class with nobody in place. Now, whenever they did have somebody in place a couple of weeks later, it was Bo Davis, someone who he was recruited to to Texas, who a lot of people thought he was going to end up in Texas with Bo Davis. So do I think that Brian Keller goes, like, if you're trying to get a deal with Bo Davis done, you're not going into the living room of a 17-year-old and telling him that's probably the worst idea. Even if he's a 5-star, those kids will repeat something and then it gets out. Right. So I know people often think, like, oh, did the coaches tell the players or the recruits who they're hiring? Again, no, the last person you would tell a secret to would be a 17-year-old. So the news would spread fast. But that only kind of solidified things when McKinley then took his official visit this past weekend. Bo Davis moved into town Friday, and here we are. Oh, and my dog approves that. I don't know if that's a more D tackle thing or if she's just happy about a 5-star. But
your dog's fired up.
It's sort of, for talking 5-star defensive tackles, that's what gets LSU fans going right now, a position of need. But having Bo Davis on campus for kind of his official visit, which is just a couple weeks after his commitment, I think that really solidified things. So it's tough to say kind of what exactly they'll tell guys, but more often than not, it's, hey, stay patient, here's our plan. And really, and it's kind of hard to do, but it's the old adage of commit to the school, not the coach or the head coach or your position coach, because all that changes way too often. And you hear guys talk about it, especially if you're a Louisiana guy. Like, I'm going to LSU because it's LSU, not necessarily because I love one coach on the staff type of thing.
Yeah. He's on Twitter at Shay Dixon, on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Two other things, Shay. One is numbers. Where is the roster right now, as best you know, as far as numbers and how many spots that they even still have available?
Right. They're over the 85-man limit right now, but you don't need to be at that 85 or fewer scholarship players until fall camp. So there'll be some attrition, I think, again in the spring. We'll see guys enter the portal after the spring window and spring practices end. When spring practices end, and the portal window opens for that 15 days, guys will have a feel for where they're at on the depth chart. And if they say, hey, look, I need to go ahead and head somewhere else, that can free up roster numbers. And then another thing that a lot of schools are doing that, which is completely under the, it's not illegal, but if you're over that 85, you can prefer walk-on players and then have that set up for some sort of NIL deal where essentially your scholarship's paid. And if it's an in-state kid, it's in-state tuition, even less of a hit to you. So that's what I've seen a lot of SEC schools who are over the 85, and then you kind of dig around. They're like, yeah, but this player will really just be PWOs, and they'll have an NIL deal that'll supplement their tuition or their room and board or books or whatever it might be, and you can kind of work it out that way. But the goal is 85. There are a few over, but that's really kind of on pace for what everybody expected between guys who were going to leave for the draft and guys who were going to stick around for the spring and kind of see what the new staff looks like, and maybe if that gave them a new lease on playing time or if they felt like they were still buried, and then they would head elsewhere after the spring.
Shay, last thing for you. Targets that remain, either players that you know of or specific positions that LSU would like to add either in this portal window or likely after spring when the next portal window opens?
I still think corner is one. I'm not going to, glance or skip right by that after the Desmond Ricks conversation. I mean, it's obvious that, look, they do, between corner and safety, they have more than 20 guys on scholarship, Matt. They've got numbers. The issue is a lot of these guys have been hurt for multiple years or, just haven't gotten playing time yet. We saw some true freshmen this year. They just signed 7 guys at the DB spot. So it's a big room. I think they could still use one corner that's got some experience if it's out there and it makes sense. But the big one will be defensive tackle. And honestly, right now, there's one guy at Texas who did not show up as an early enrollee as planned, and he said, hey, look, I'm looking to get out of my letter of intent. Bo Davis obviously recruited him there. If he does get out of his letter of intent, it would kind of be an LSU-Florida battle. This is a top 150 defensive tackle that I'm talking about. They're a top 150 player, but a top 15 defensive tackle. And then even JUCO. They've already signed one, but they've got their eyes on another JUCO prospect who plays defensive tackle. He's starting to get looks and is going to graduate in the spring and then be able to enroll or bounce back to a 4-year college this summer. So they've got options on both those fronts. As for the portal, I've heard buzz. The big thing to watch now will be this. Guys who are getting older at their program, They're about to graduate. They'll stick it out during the spring, graduate, and then leave after the spring. And it can be in the portal window or not, because grad transfers can leave at any point. They're not restricted to portal windows. So I would keep an eye out for some first-time transfers at the graduate level at the defensive tackle spot. I think that's one they really want to address. And now that Bo Davis is here, they can go about addressing it.
He is Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Make sure you're following him there on Twitter at Shay Dixon. We appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone doesn't like the dogs barking, don't get a dachshund. That would be my suggestion to y'all. So.
I don't mind the dog at all, man. That's just part of live radio. Thank you, Shay.
All right, Matt. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Be well. That's Shay Dixon. This is After Further Review. It's mock draft season. Excited to get into that. Got a 2-round mock draft from Dane Brugler out. Thinks highly of the LSU guys, but also a couple of interesting decisions for the Saints. We'll get to that when we come back. It's AFR.
AFR.
Action Industries is hiring. Y'all get on by. Tell you all the time to make sure you check out Action Industries on LinkedIn, but also make sure you're following Action Industries on Facebook. So I've told you since 1982, Action Industries has been servicing the petrochemical industries, the refineries, and they are hiring. So if you're looking for work at Action Industries, they're looking for A-class carpenters, A-class pipe fitters, heavy equipment operators, 15-ton, 50-ton, 90-ton, combo welders. You can apply right now. You can go to their Geismar office, right there on Highway 30 in Geismar, or you can call. I'll give you the phone number. Call right now to inquire. It's 225-402-0645. 402-0645, 402-0645 for Action Industries.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dane Brugler. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
the best.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
That's more like it, Muse. You get to keep your job for another day. Greg Lehman on the text line said, he said, who's getting fired next, Paul or Musso? Said, let me get the odds from Otter. I just spoke with a minus 1,000 on Muse. Got you dead to rights there, Muse.
Thanks, Otter. Appreciate it. Love the vote of confidence there, Jimmy.
I requested Muse play this last hour, and he came back out of the break and did not play this. A complete act of defiance.
Oh, you know.
We appreciate our friends over at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. They're awesome. Been great partners of ours. Tons of NIL deals. I loved every week throughout the season this year. They had a different NIL deal with a different football player. It was really cool to see. Of course, the official, an official partner of LSU Athletics. They are Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Thanks to Shay Dixon for joining us there a little bit. Some of you are pointing out that he kind of sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher a little bit. Apologies. I don't know why we had a bad connection there. It might have just been a bad cell he was in, but we'll work on it for next time, so apologies. But Shay's always got great insight. The Desmond Ricks thing makes a lot of sense. And maybe when you hear it from outside looking in, it makes the inside situation more plausible. I mean, the long and the short that Shay just told you, I'm oversimplifying it, but he sort of validated was Desmond Ricks had an NIL number. LSU was like, we're good. And so they're like, okay, we're good. And so you're going to go somewhere else. I mean, that's effectively what happened with Lance Hurd. I know a lot of you came at me with, no, he wants to play left tackle. No, he wants a chance to play. Yeah, I mean, those things are true. Yes, those things are true. But that's not why he left LSU. He had a big NIL number he wanted for next season. If you can get it, go get it, bro. Good luck. Good luck. I mean, that's how it's going to be whenever you have. I mean, you have to budget responsibly. And yes, it's a different age. It's a different day and age, and there's going to be different considerations for everybody as you're putting together a roster. But if you don't have $10, $12, $13 million annually to invest into building a roster in NIL, then you just have to be more diligent with how and where you spend. And quite honestly, I think the approach Ole Miss has taken is the one that probably more schools are going to adopt, which is you're not going to spend on high school recruits. You're going to allocate the bulk of your NIL money through your collective to retention and portal. Because the challenge is, I mean, just look at, I'll use Lance Hurd. I mean, LSU, Lance Hurd, when he signed with LSU out of Neville, got a really nice NIL deal from the LSU collective. And you had him for one season. He was a backup, and now he's gone. As much as it would have stung not to get that guy, a Louisiana kid, a 5-star, would you rather have allocated? Let me ask you the benefit of hindsight now. What if you could have taken that money that Lance Hurd got and you could have given it to Braden Fisk, the defensive lineman who went to Florida State? Would you have made that trade? Because I would have. For 1 year? A freshman offensive lineman that rode the bench or a monster interior defensive tackle? I would have. So I think that's probably the change you're going to start to see. And I also think the market is just going to settle. You're not, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about Desmond Ricks, who was a 5-star corner a year ago that LSU recruited heavily, went to Bama, entered the portal after one season where he only played on a couple of games. And LSU was thought to be in the mix, and now he's not going to make a visit to LSU, and clearly it's because there's NIL considerations he wants that according to Shea, LSU wasn't necessarily willing to meet, which is fine, which is fine. I mean, you have to make responsible decisions. So, I think we will see that market settle because, and maybe the biggest change is you're going to see fewer guys out of high school getting large NIL deals, for the reason we just mentioned. That's 2 years in a row now at LSU, right? You had Walker Howard, Lance Hurd, back-to-back years. You had a 5-star from Louisiana campus for 1 year. Didn't play and left. And then I also think on top of that, you will have it's just going to be tough for collectives. I'm not just talking to LSU. I'm talking like across the board, because the more people I talk to that run collectives at different places, not just LSU, they sing the same song, which is, okay, you're Texas, and the roster that they just had that made it to the college football playoff, they spent between $12 and $13 million in NIL money on that roster. Okay. They're Texas. They got tons of money. Sure. But now you have to go do it again. And then the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and every year. And, like, can you keep shaking the tree every year for that NIL nut? Some, yes. How much? Don't know. That's what I think ultimately the market settles across the board. Because I think everybody, I mean, all the collectives, every school's boosters are growing tired of cutting those types of checks already, because there isn't an end in sight. You have to do it every year with a different crop of players. So ultimately, the market will reset, because otherwise you're just creating a giant bubble, which is not sustainable, and ultimately that bubble will burst, and then there's chaos when that happens. So, but I agree with Shay. Corner, defensive tackle. I mean, if I'm looking at wants, needs, and musts, I've said it a bunch. You'll hear me say it a bunch more. You added C.J. Daniels. That was a want. Cornerback is a need. Defensive tackle is a must, and you got to address it. And if it's not right now, you'll have to do it certainly after spring football, when the spring portal window opens. All right, y'all. Dane Brugler's got a 2-round mock draft out. I'll get to that here in a second. Brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. Theantiagingclinics.com. Semaglutide. If your New Year's resolution is to drop some lbs, you've heard about semaglutide. They've got it at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Learn more. Have a conversation with an actual medical doctor, Dr. Todd Howell, to go over the possibilities, the effects, everything you need to know. Get your questions answered at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. That's theantiagingclinics.com. Dane Brugler over at The Athletic has a 2-round mock draft out. Obviously, this is a time where with the draft deadline, the declaration deadline ending on Monday, the 15th, now, because the draft pool of players is set, we know which players are in the draft. You're going to start to see more mock drafts. So Dane Brugler put out a 2-round mock draft, and of course the Saints have 2 picks in the first 2 rounds. They're picking 14 overall, and then they have the Broncos' 2nd-round pick, which is 45 overall. Thanks a lot to the Broncos for actually getting good later in the season. And I don't necessarily marry myself to the idea of a mock draft because of who the player is. I more look at, is there a consensus on position? What position might a team be targeting in round 1? Not necessarily the player. And what's been really interesting is, as we've looked at a lot of these mock drafts, there doesn't seem to be a real consensus on player or position for the Saints. We talked about a CBS Sports mock draft yesterday that had the Saints taking Brock Bowers at 14 overall. Well, Dane Brugler at 14 has the Saints taking Jared Verse, the defensive end out of Florida State. Now, on its face, I would love that. I would love to get an elite edge rusher on this roster. I mean, you had one in Trey Hendrickson, and you let him walk. I mean, you decided to pay the wrong guy. You drafted Peyton Turner. You drafted Marcus Davenport. This year, you used a 2nd-round pick on an edge, and you've missed. Isaiah Foskey didn't give you much of anything this year as a rookie. You've drafted a bunch of those guys, and you've missed. The one guy that you hit on, Trey Hendrickson, who was awesome, you decided not to pay. Another reason why I look at the Saints organization going, what are you actually doing? Like, not only can you not evaluate college talent, you can't even evaluate your own roster and make sensible decisions. But Jared Verse would be incredible. I just think you have much bigger needs on the offensive side of the ball, namely offensive line, where you could be losing Pete, Hurst, and Ramczyk after this year. And Trevor Penning, while they may not be giving up on him, feels like a total bust right now. So I almost feel like you got to go offensive line at 14. But Dane Brugler does have the Saints going offensive line in round 2 at 45 with Kansas Jayhawks offensive lineman Dominic Pooney, who played both guard and tackle. So that's a swing guy that can play inside out for you, and you're going to need to use a high draft pick on an offensive lineman, and you're probably going to have to spend in free agency on the offensive line this year as well, because you're likely losing 3 starters after this year. Well, we're not sure what's going to happen with Ryan Ramczyk. Hopefully he gets healthy this offseason, comes back healthy, and is ready to roll. And then you're just looking to replace the left side of your line with Pete and Hurst. And maybe Trevor Penning, the light switch comes on this year, and maybe he can be a guard for you, and you're looking for a franchise left tackle, and maybe that player's there in the top half of round 1. But the single biggest flashing lights, glaring need for the New Orleans Saints, I think has to be like 1A, 1B, has got to be offensive line. But if Jared Verse is there, and you think he's an elite edge rusher, and those are so hard to come by, and you see him there at 14, and you pull the trigger, it'd be hard to be upset with that as well. Okay, it's after further review. We'll knock out a quick break, y'all. We'll come back. The Atlanta Falcons interviewed Bill Belichick for their head coaching job, and the jokes were flying last night. I got some thoughts on it. We'll continue. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. King Cake season, y'all. Of course, you can get on by Rouse's and get your gourmet king cakes. Always encourage you to download the Rouse's app if you haven't done it yet. Love telling you about the curbside pickup over at Rouse's. It's so easy. You go to the app, you select your items, your personal shopper goes and picks out your items for you. You pull into one of the designated spots, and then boom, they'll bring it out to your car. It's so easy. It'll save you time. And remember, if you spend $35, it's a free service on the app. So download the Rouse's app, save time, save money, and always, 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 always look for those Rouse's branded products when you shop at Rouse's. The Circle R logo, one of the most impressive things about Rouse's is anytime they can, they source locally from Louisiana for all of their Rouse's branded products. It's Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, this feels like home.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel.
On a West Virginia plow. He built a house of timber.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
I mean, do you want to work here anymore?
It's a great song.
That's not what I asked you.
It's a great song. You said I was good for a day, so we were like, all right. Well, go.
Turn it off. The Atlanta Falcons interviewed Bill Belichick for their head coaching opening, and everybody had jokes. Twitter had jokes. I really just went to Twitter just to read the replies. The 28-3 mentions were epic. If you don't have Twitter, X, whatever, I would recommend you download the app just for the sake of reading the comments, because it was nothing but a litany of 28-3 jokes. It's almost like I only go to OJ's Twitter whenever he posts because I just want to read the comments under every post that OJ makes.
Hey, Twitter. Oh, no, not Twitter. Hey, X world.
Like, you know what you're getting into. Like, you know what it's going to be. Use your I don't need to say it. Just imagine OJ posts on Twitter. People start commenting. What do you think those comments are going to be about? It's puns, it's double entendre, it's everything you would imagine about the thing for which OJ is most famous or infamous, and I'm not talking about running the football and being a Hall of Famer or a Heisman winner. So was it, too, with the 28-3 jokes. And they were great. But can you, how do you interview Bill Belichick? Like, how do you do that? What would consist of that interview? I mean, it really should just be, you want the job? I mean, what's he going to say in an interview that you don't already know about Bill Belichick? I mean, Atlanta specifically. Coach, great to have you. How'd you do it? Well, we had great players, great support for a long time there in New England. Yeah, I know that. Brady and all that stuff. But how'd you do it? Yeah, well, we put a plan together every day for every game, and we just try to stay focused on the task at hand. Yeah, no, that's all great. Yeah, one day at a time, coach speak out. But how'd you do it? Yeah, how'd you do what? 28-3. How'd you do it, coach? Yeah, well, we had a great team effort, and our guys never quit. No, coach. I mean, really, how'd you do it? Were the balls deflated? Did you get our signals? Were you videoing us? How'd you do it, coach? At that point, he just gets up and leaves. Bill Belichick and the Falcons. I don't know that there's a more odd potential marriage. Although, look, for a long time, I mean, I'll tell you from my perspective as a football fan, right, in my lifetime, my first awareness of the Patriots were when Tommy Hotson went to the Patriots. And they sucked. I mean, they were just an awful franchise. Like, they were not good. They went to the Super Bowl in 85 and lost the Bears, as we know. But from my recollection, they were not good. And then all of a sudden, they had Parcells, and then they had Pete Carroll, and, of course, Bill Belichick. And, man, they just went on a run of Hall of Fame coaches there and got really good. So it became the best dynasty ever. But it's interesting how an organization can transform. And I guess I think of the Falcons in that same way. The Falcons have never had any success. They've been to the Super Bowl twice. They went in 98, the Dirty Birds, Jamal Anderson and that gang, and lost. And then, and then, of course, when they lost to the Patriots and they're up 28-3, I mean, those are the highlights of that organization. They've never had great runs of success or anything like that. I mean, their greatest quarterback ever was Matt Ryan, who won an MVP and got him to a Super Bowl. But it kind of feels like if you're Bill Belichick, and I don't know that Bill Belichick could have any job he wanted. He's 71 years old. Don't know how much longer he wants to coach. And from all accounts, he wants autonomy. Like, he wants to be able to make player personnel decisions, et cetera. So, I mean, part of me looks and goes, only Don Shula and George Halas have won more games in the regular season than Bill Belichick. I mean, no one has won more Super Bowls. Why in the world, if he wants your job, would you even consider anyone else? The flip side of it is, I can't imagine at 71 that Bill Belichick's looking to go to a place where he's going to have a massive rebuild on his hands. He's going to look at a spot where there is structure and things in place where he could win now, because he doesn't have a long runway left, you would assume, just at 71 years old. The flip side of that is you say, okay, well, what team hiring a coach has a great, stable organization? Generally, if you're hiring a coach, it's because you stink and you fired your coach. Now, there's Seattle, which has been good under Pete Carroll, but haven't gotten back to the level they were when they won the NFC and went to back-to-back Super Bowls. There's I don't know how you could find interest in a place like Washington. We talked about the Chargers, which feels like the most attractive job, and that's why the connection to Harbaugh. But the Chargers feels the most attractive because they have a starting quarterback in place. But do you want to go to the Panthers, where, they were a total nightmare this year? Do you want to go to Atlanta, where you have a top 10 pick, and I presume you're going to draft a quarterback this year, but how really is that going to go for Atlanta? I mean, you're not going to sold on Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke, and then are you starting with a rookie? I don't know where Belichick goes that's most appealing. Tennessee, maybe? Do he and Vrabel just... Well, I guess Vrabel wouldn't swap because New England's already got their coach, but is he replace Vrabel, a guy who played for him? I mean, you would have a lot of that culture built in already from Vrabel spending much of his career in New England. I don't know. The thought of Bill Belichick with the Falcons is kind of laughable to me, just because the winningest championship coach in history going to one of the worst organizations in the league feels laughable. But then again, there's probably people who looked at Mike Ditka going to the Saints and thought the same damn thing. So stranger things have happened, and maybe Bill Belichick will go and trade his entire draft for a running back. Whatever. But if nothing else, amuse yourself with the 28-3 comments on Twitter, on the Falcons Twitter account from the official word that they interviewed Bill Belichick. All right, it's after further review. Musalab Tigers and the Pros coming up. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. I'll tell you, all honesty, with all the ice on the road and the dangerous conditions driving, I really did get in my car this morning, my Volkswagen Crossport, and I felt tremendous peace of mind because of the safety features, the all-weather features on my Crossport as well. Getting out when there were potential for icy roads and dangerous conditions, it didn't bother me. Now, I made sure that I was safe and drove the speed limit or under the speed limit, and avoided elevated roads and bridges and things like that. But I did have tremendous peace of mind because I know I'm driving one of the safest vehicles on the road. 9 different IIHS top safety picks. It's the highest safety designation a vehicle can get. In the Volkswagen line, they have them. So if you want that peace of mind while driving something that's stylish, luxurious, affordable, manufactured in the USA at their Chattanooga, Tennessee plant, so supporting American jobs as well, and safe, it's a Volkswagen. And the best place to go is South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? The Saints today, it's been a very tumultuous day as Pete Carmichael was fired earlier today, along with Cody Burns. And forgive me. Bob Bicknell was the other offensive assistant. Forgive me. So Cody Burns, Bob Bicknell, and Pete Carmichael were all fired today. And then the Saints lost another staffer. Excuse me, with the running backs coach leaving for the New York Giants. So massive turnover today in New Orleans, but they are still continuing to look forward to the roster for next year, and a lot of the business at hand as they'll look to replace Pete Carmichael primarily. But the Saints did sign reserve future deals with all but 3 of the members of their practice squad. So 16 players on the practice squad. They signed 13 of them to reserve future deals. I guess the only thing notable would be like, okay, well, which ones didn't they sign? Well, Colby Gossett was one. That was the offensive lineman they added late in the season when you had the injury to Ramchick and then to Landon Young. So Colby Gossett, no. Marquez Callaway was not signed. And then rookie wide receiver Shaq Davis also was not signed to reserve future deal. Although just because they're not signed doesn't mean they won't be back. And Shaq Davis was so good in the preseason, and he got injured about midway through the year. But that's a guy that I think they think has a really bright future. We all see the same thing. So they would very likely try to ink him to some other maybe extended type of contract. But those were the 3 that were not extended. The biggest one to keep an eye on there would be Shaq Davis, the rookie out of South Carolina State in the MEAC, to see what his future may be in New Orleans, because he will certainly have a future in New Orleans. Okay, let me knock out our final break here of hour number 2. Sean Salsbury in 15 minutes. Jeff Duncan will be here in 30 minutes from right now. Want to ask him about a new day offensively in New Orleans with the firing of Pete Carmichael. So Jeff Duncan about 30 minutes from right now. When we come back, Muse will have Tigers and the Pros. Don't you move.
AFR.
Tuesday, great night to get by Pluckers, either location, Nicholson or Bluebonnet. Actually, let me correct myself. Nicholson is temporarily closed. I was texting earlier today with Steve with all the weather last night. They had a small kitchen fire last night. Everybody's okay. There wasn't severe damage or anything like that, but they have to be closed temporarily at Nicholson. So Bluebonnet would be your spot. Bluebonnet right there in front of the Mall of Louisiana. You've got tons of great NBA action tonight. You need a place to watch. You get on by Pluckers on Bluebonnet. And listen, I know the kids being out of school, some roads are passable, some aren't. But if you can get out, Pluckers is a great place to go, because every Tuesday, kids eat free. So if the kids being off of school, at home, driving you crazy, you need to get out, let off some steam, you can get by Pluckers, the Bluebonnet location right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Remember, adults, parents, you buy your entree, your kids eat for free on Tuesdays at Pluckers. 2 locations, Nicholson and Bluebonnet. Nicholson closed temporarily, but Bluebonnet is open. Remember, at Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging along.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
There we go, Muse. Haven't heard that one in a minute. When we're talking about tractors,
played that song.
No, we didn't.
Yes,
when we're talking
did.
about tractors, we're talking about John Deere. Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Tell me that doesn't get you tapping your feet, Muse.
It's a good song.
Tell me that doesn't get you clapping your hands.
Yeah.
Rosin up your bow.
Well, I don't have a bow, but if I had a bow.
Tell me that doesn't do it. Might after the show, might drive out, go see my friends at Sunshine, get in one of those big old combines, make a pass or two in some sugarcane fields. I'm coming, Rooney. Fire up the tractor, bud. Love it. Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Muso Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
I don't hear you at all.
Yeah, I pulled the wrong fader. Field Yates, first to report that the Buffalo Bills have released
the music going.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to fade the music down, and then, it just...
it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
There's 14 of these things over here.
You enjoying your last day at work, Muse?
Sometimes you get a little confused with which one might be which. Anyway, Field Yates was the first to report that the Buffalo Bills have released Leonard Fournette from their practice squad. Yeah, man. What? I don't know. Did not record a snap in the wild card round. Only played in 2 games in the regular season with Buffalo. Rushed for 40 yards, and now once again a free agent. I think we were all hoping for a return of playoff Lenny, and the Buffalo Bills with other plans. They did get the win yesterday in the game over the Steelers, 31-17. For Pittsburgh, Patrick Peterson recorded 4 stops in the ball game, all of them solo, but his season now over. Nightcap was the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Slow night, really, for former Tigers with Tampa. Devin White, only 2 stops in the game. Should I include Trey Palmer? I kind of went back and forth on this. He didn't finish at LSU. We never include guys, but that was a really cool moment last night.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I actually thought about it when it happened.
Yeah, me too. So I mean, we don't. I mean, Eli Ricks played in that game last night. We don't include him.
It's weird. I think it almost feels like it depends on where they went after LSU. That determines how we feel about them. Like Ricks going to Bama stings. Trey Palmer going to Nebraska was like, I get it, kid. It's a logjam at the position. Go make the most of it.
All right. I guess it was a cool moment, though. He did score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up here with the NBA. Brooklyn Nets last night, a 1-point loss to the Heat, but Cam Thomas, he's officially back. Struggled a little bit from the floor, but not anymore. 23 points for Cam, 32 minutes off the bench. Might as well really just start him. He played the 3rd most minutes of any player on the team last night. And shot 7 of 20, again with the 23 points. So he's fully back and scoring basketball again. That's Tigers in the pros.
We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Whenever it's, 12 degrees outside, pretty nice to have those energy-efficient replacement windows from Relief Windows. Tell you all the time, at Relief Windows, you will get experience, quality, and service. Their customer service is the thing that sets them apart. I love this 5-star review from Barbara from the BBB. Relief Windows is an excellent company that does an excellent job. We recently had this company add vinyl siding to our home. The workers and company were very professional, did an excellent job. They were timely, proficient, and clean. We were very pleased with the work. I give them a 5-star review. It's a common refrain when you're talking about Relief Windows. They're the best. You want an exceptional product, an exceptional customer service, you want Relief Windows. Why would you call anybody else? 288-8138, 288-8138 for Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. All right, y'all. Jeff Duncan in about 20 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the Saints firing Pete Carmichael. When we come back, our buddy Sean Salsbury will be here with us as he is every Tuesday. Stick around. Hour 3 of AFR is next.
AFR.
Man, we are moving into the new year, and we are moving closer to Valentine's Day. Hard to believe, y'all, but we're about a month away from Valentine's Day. Gentlemen, if you screwed it up for Christmas, let Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry help make it right on Valentine's Day. Maybe you're thinking of popping the question on Valentine's Day. Let Lee Michaels help. They've been helping Baton Rouge and all of Louisiana get engaged for more than 40 years. You can go online, lmfj.com. That's lmfj.com. But really, y'all, the difference is when you walk through the door. Listen, when I bought Erica's ring, I didn't know anything about diamonds, and chances are if you're new and you're doing this for the first time, you don't either. But their friendly staff are experts, and you will always get the Lee Michaels experience. You may think, I don't have the budget to spend a lot, and they're going to make me feel. No. You will always get the Lee Michaels experience at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Online at lmfj.com. That's lmfj.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dane Brugler. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. ESPN's reporting. Mike Tomlin told Steelers players and coaches today he plans to coach the team in 2024. This the day after he walked out of a news conference when asked about his contract. Pete Carmichael Jr. out as Saints offensive coordinator after 18 seasons. Dolphins GM Chris Greer indicated he hopes to sign quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to a long-term extension. Tua started every game this season, led the league in passing yards, but he might not be able to help deliver a Lombardi trophy to Miami, according to Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp.
I just don't believe his ceiling for the Dolphins is a Super Bowl. Things basically have to be really ideal for you to maximize his ability. And with that, the maximization and things having to be ideal, that's asking an awful lot because in football, there are things that's going to be less than ideal.
NHL Golden Knights leading scorer Jack Eichel week to week after surgery to repair a lower body injury. Julian Lewis, top high school football player in the class of 2026, told ESPN he plans to reclassify and enter college in the class of 2025. He committed to USC in August.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you'll earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit Progressive.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. Get out there, make it a good one. Huge news around New Orleans. After 18 years, Pete Carmichael Jr. fired as offensive coordinator. So we'll head to New Orleans about 15 minutes. Our buddy Jeff Duncan will be here with us. Giant weekend around the NFL. Super Wildcard weekend is in the books. We're thrilled to have Sean Salsbury with us as he joins us every Tuesday. Sean, we appreciate you, man. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. Good to be on with you, man.
Man, it's always our pleasure. I think there's two options for the answer to this question, but I'm curious what you're going to say. What was the most surprising result of Wildcard Weekend?
I wasn't overly surprised by Philadelphia because I've seen this movie the last 6 weeks. That didn't shock me. I picked Tampa to win, and I figured they would. Flacco, at some point, you think it had to slow down a little bit, with what he's done, but it's been an amazing run. I guess I was the most surprised by how easily and how physically they just manhandled Dallas was the way Green Bay played. And Jordan Love, who's had a fantastic full season starting, but just the way the Cowboys looked so pedestrian, and maybe we should be used to that since mid-'90s. This is who they've been. But I was shocked by the lack of energy, the lack of execution, the people out of place. It was almost like they were playing a preseason game and the Packers were playing a playoff game or a regular season game where they'd gone on a roll. It was the Cowboys the most disappointing for sure because I expected this from Philadelphia, the way they played. Dallas has not had 6 weeks of bad stints. They're undefeated at home. I thought they were embarrassing, humiliating, and looked like a team that didn't want to play. If they did want to play, then they took a bad ass whooping by a better Green Bay team on that day.
That certainly would be the one I think most would answer in Dallas. Is or should Mike McCarthy be done?
I think you got to look long and hard. There comes a point in time, Matty. I know we're all knee-jerk. Hell, people after what's gone on with Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia start out 10-1. They're the Super Bowl representative, and they want everybody fired. I mean, Nick Sirianni's got to go. It's like, let's slow down and let's observe. Is it the coordinators being gone? All the stuff that you need to do when you evaluate. Yet, Matt Eberflus and Robert Saleh are keeping their jobs, and they both have sub-500 records. So it's weird how we think. To me, I have to look long and hard at, because I got to ask this question real simple. One is, do you like him? Like, it's two questions really. Do you like him or love him? I've told you this about when I draft quarterbacks or hire coaches. If I like him, I'm not hiring him. If I love him, I am.
Okay.
If I love two of them, I got to love one more. So if you're saying, well, we can get by with him, no, that's not good enough for me. And I don't like to see the coaches fired, but it's part of the business. I don't like to see anybody fired, but that's why you get paid the big money, and you got to perform. And I've seen the movie too often for this to be like, well, let's try it again. For me, if you go in there and you say, this is our ceiling. If we hit it, are we close? As a coaching staff, then you got to move on.
Yeah.
You got to move on. You can't be in the feel-good business. I love him. He's a good guy, and I'm sure he is, but that's not the point here. I personally don't think 53 guys on that roster have buy-in. I think they're good enough talent-wise to get by in a regular season and win some, and they've lost some ugly games too, but when they win pretty big. But they don't have postseason DNA. And I just look at the switch, and I can compare it because the guy we have here now, D'Amico Ryans, I mean, the DNA and the quarter, look how quickly they've turned it around after a 3-win season. And you say, well, other guys are involved, of course, but it permeates through the organization. They're not willing to accept losing. Everybody says they want to win, but are you willing to accept losing? And they're not doing that here. And if they do lose, which they lost 7 games this year, you find a way to fix it the next week. So I don't like to just go right to the coach and the quarterback, but you know what? If I know I've hit my ceiling, or this is what I'm maxing out at, 12 wins, but that's all I get. I'm a regular season All-American, but when we get to the postseason, I choke on my own spit, and that's coaches included. It's time for me to move on. I don't know if Mike McCarthy, and I like Mike, I do. I think he's a good play caller. I don't think Mike's a great leader of men, and I don't think he has buy-in from everybody. And those two are my top 2 priorities with a head coach and a quarterback. And if you only fill one, I got to replace you. The quarterback's going to stay. We know that because of the money. I think it's time to take a long, hard look at what fits them. I think that they've reached their ceiling with Mike McCarthy. They won't win a Super Bowl with him.
He's on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. You can hear Sean Salsbury every weekday morning there on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. You mentioned the Texans. When I look at Saturday's game, Sean, coming up, 2 pretty big point spreads with the Texans up a 9-point dog at Baltimore and the Packers a 9.5-point dog at San Francisco. Which is more likely to, or has a better chance to go on the road and pull the upset, the Texans or the Packers?
Well, I would say Green Bay, more familiarity with that we've seen those two play a lot. I know it's different wrapper with players, but Matt, I'm a little concerned about both of the favorites. Not in the sense that I don't think they can win and they're not. I think that's your Super Bowl, the 49ers and the Ravens. I think they're both win. But I do have concern. Now, you go back, the teams, think about this now, quarterbacks playing hot and staying in rhythm. You think about teams that have been on must-win. Let's just talk about must-win and quarterback play this past weekend. First, let's start with must-win. Think about Buffalo, Tampa, the Houston Texans, and the Green Bay Packers. For about 6 or 8 weeks, they've been on got to win every week or close to it. You're preaching single elimination playoff, and they've been in that mode since November. And then you think about if quarterback play and smart play calling don't matter. I call the Goff and the Stafford matchup, that was a wash. Both quarterbacks played well. It was a close game. Mayfield outplayed Hurts. Mm-hmm. Love outplayed Prescott. Stroud outplayed Flacco, and who did I leave out? Mahomes outplayed Tua. So when people say, well, it's not that big a quarterback play in January, and take a look at the way the other ones played, quarterback play in January is epic. And I do like teams that play. They've been in this mode where they have to win every week. I may be way wrong, and they may both cover. Man, I'm not big on taking a full training camp off for 3 weeks. And it will have been 3 weeks since Baltimore and San Francisco have played a competitive game. They sat their starters out last game of the season. They had last week as a bye. Now they're practicing. So you try to simulate duress during those 3 weeks, but it's so easy mentally and emotionally. They're so talented to get out of football mode. It just is. Now, I know it's the playoffs, but to click back in. And unfortunately, in the playoffs, you get down a quarter and a half or 2 quarters. Now you're in a chase mode. You lose.
Yeah.
In the preseason, if you've only played like a few snaps and you're in football mode and you're not practicing much or you're not playing much, you get in football because you're excited. It's the first game. And if you lose the first game, you could still go on and win. Look at teams like Tampa, who were under 500 at one point this year. The Texans were struggling early, and they're both in the playoffs. So you got to play them all. I get concerned about big spreads for teams that haven't played in 3 weeks. I give the Texans and I give the Packers a real chance to hang around. And the number one reason is the guys that are under center right now are playing great football. Not good, great football. I give him a chance. I'm going to take both Baltimore and San Francisco, but I think there's a concern there. You better come out of that locker room smoking because it can be a problem if you take a little while to get into the rhythm because these teams have been playing single elimination football for a while.
Sean, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the Chiefs because they're the defending champs and they have to go to Buffalo. Is this a situation where you favor Buffalo because they finally did what they needed to do to get this game in Buffalo instead of having to go to Arrowhead?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. You obviously want them coming to your building. We've seen the result going there. And there's some things that have added. Buffalo, the running game is really clicking. And I love physical teams in January. I don't pick finesse teams to win. I just don't. I think you got to control the line of scrimmage, and that quarterback has got to play well. Look what they did. They know they can run it with Cook. Josh Allen's legs were alive and well, and he didn't turn the ball over, which has been a problem. Red zone turnovers the last couple of years. Didn't turn the ball over. And I think he's turned it over 22 times this year. If he limits turnovers, Kansas City's going to have a hard time. I told you I believe in the past weeks that Kansas City's defense at times has to carry their offense this year. I just don't think Kansas City's offense is as talented as it's been. I don't. I love the Buffalo's 2 tight ends. I love the weapons they're bringing to the table in the run game, and I think you can run the ball now without it having to be Josh Allen. And I think that's important for them. And their defense is flying around. We know this. And I love what Joe Brady's been doing with Josh Allen. With Kansas City, the great equalizer is simply this. You got a quarterback who knows how to win in January, and you got a head coach who does too. To me, that's where they come into play. But you're going on the road. Buffalo's got a lot to prove. They've been under this pressure. Kansas City hasn't had their best season, but we know what looms. I like Buffalo in the game. I didn't think Kansas City was getting to the AFC Championship game this year. I'm going to stick with it. But you have got to control, maybe shorten the game a little bit. But Josh Allen can't go into this thinking, it's Mahomes. I got to be a hero. Protect the ball. If you protect the ball, your defense is good enough to get 3 and outs, and your run game's good enough to move it a little bit with that screen game and then hit some deep shots. I think this is a game in the 20s, and I think Buffalo, depending on the weather, I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo's a little bit better, and I think they were kicked in the teeth enough during the season, having to fire Ken Dorsey to say, okay, there's a sense of urgency here. And it's hard to keep winning in these playoffs like Kansas City, but with Mahomes and Reed, you don't rule them out. But I like Buffalo in a game. I think Buffalo's wake-up call about a month and a half ago hit them right between the eyes.
He is Sean Salsbury on Twitter, @SeanUnfiltered. Catch him weekday mornings there, Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Also the president of Pro Sports Fans. If you haven't done it yet, download the Pro Sports Fans app. They're doing good stuff over there, man. It's a really fascinating concept. Get to the App Store and download Pro Sports Fans. Sean, you're the best, man. We appreciate you as
Thanks,
always.
Bud. Appreciate it. I'm anxious to see who they're going to hire as the coordinator, too, man. And good luck to Pete. I appreciate you having me on, buddy. Thank you.
It's always our pleasure. The one and only Sean Salsbury. This is After Further Review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll head down to New Orleans. We'll chat with our buddy Jeff Duncan about the news today that Pete Carmichael fired after 18 seasons in New Orleans.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. Of course, you've got freezing temperatures, and buddy, if that heater ain't working right now, that is an inopportune time to say the very least. If your heater isn't working properly, if maybe this cold weather and taxing your heater has revealed that to you, call River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Funny noises, funny smells from your heater, they can take care of it. Big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side, you see them everywhere. When it comes to calling an HVAC company, you want someone who's going to be on time. You want to know reputable people, friendly, reputable people are coming into your home. They're going to do a great job at a fair price. That's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Mosconoa. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Haven't heard that one in a while. Every time you hear it, Muse, it puts you in a good mood, right? It's like an old friend coming home.
It's a good song.
It's a good song.
Yeah, a little deja vu, but it's a good song.
Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Well, Jeff Duncan kicked the anthill this morning when everybody started waking up and checking Twitter.com, and there's this sort of cryptic tweet about it being a big day over on Airline Drive, and sure enough, it was. Pete Carmichael, after 18 seasons done in New Orleans. Jeff Duncan's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. As always, Jeff, we appreciate the time, man. How are you?
Doing good, Matt. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. Can you give us a sense of the timeline when the decision was made to part ways with Pete Carmichael?
Look, I don't know the exact time, but I'm sure it all occurred last week when Dennis Allen was holding kind of one-on-one meetings with Mickey Loomis. traditionally how they handle these end-of-season processes, and I'm sure they evaluated everything in the football operation, including the staff, and there's no surprise that this was the first day back for the coaching staff in the building today. So that's why the news came out today. Yesterday was a holiday. The coaches were all off last week, so it made sense for the shoe to drop today.
It does. And appreciate that context and clarification. That does make a lot of sense. Jeff, before you came on, I mentioned that you're the guy who quite literally wrote the book on the Saints offense. For those that haven't read Jeff's book, Peyton and Breeze, The Men Who Built the Greatest Offense in NFL History. You did not mention Peyton, Breeze, and Carmichael, the men who built the greatest offense in NFL history. But Pete had some role, right? He had to have some role. So I'll ask you, the man who literally wrote the book, what was Pete Carmichael's role during these 18 years?
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt, and I think it's a good time to talk about that because Sean Payton has told me repeatedly that if he had to put a ranking of the most important people during his 16, 17 years in New Orleans with Drew Brees, that Pete Carmichael would be in the top 5. That's how important he was to what they did in New Orleans. He feels like he's the most unappreciated person in the building, and he basically was the liaison between Sean and Drew. I mean, he was the guy that held that together. I mean, you had these two incredible offensive minds, two incredibly driven, opinionated guys on how things should work, and Pete was kind of the glue. And I don't think you can underestimate how important that was. The fact that those two guys never got into fights, never really had major disagreements in 16 years. I mean, I probed, when I was doing that book, I probed up and down over and over trying to find out when they had a falling out, when there was a breakdown. Then they all said no, it was because Pete Carmichael was there to smooth that over. So that's a very valuable role when you're talking about two of the greatest to ever, wear the black and gold.
He's on Twitter at @JeffDuncan_. So is it fair then, Jeff, to say that Carmichael was better writing sidecar to Sean Payton than he was as the guy sort of running the show offensively?
Oh, 100%. And look, I reported a couple of years ago, you may remember this, but Pete Carmichael, according to all my sources, didn't really want the offensive coordinator job. He understood that's a high-profile position. And I think people have to understand, the different nuances involved. With a guy like Pete Carmichael, he'd come here in New Orleans, really had no name, kind of worked his way up, and his family all grew up here, and they're very comfortable. His kids have all moved out. He doesn't need any more money. He's not seeking spotlight. He did not want that attention. This thing played out to all of his probably worst nightmares. All of a sudden, he's under the spotlight. He's getting blamed for everything. This is exactly what he didn't want. So, unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way I think anybody wanted on Airline Drive. But there's some culpability there, I think, in having him in that role. But the decision makers in New Orleans looked around and felt like he was the best person for them at that time. And they even looked around last year, Matt. I mean, after the first season, there was discussions behind closed doors. Do we need a new OC? And they looked around. I mean, they took a thorough search and were close to getting some other candidates in there, and it just didn't work out, so Pete stayed on. So this is something that's been kind of on the back burner for a couple of years. It's really no surprise this change was made.
So would you say Pete Carmichael was the problem, or has he just become the fall guy, the scapegoat?
Well, look, I think clearly he has to take responsibility. When he accepts the job, you have to coordinate that offense, and it's your responsibility to produce at a high level. And I don't think anybody that watched the Saints this year can say that, especially the first half of the season, that this offense was achieving its potential, especially with the talent that's there. They brought Derek Carr in, a ballyhooed off-season signing. One of the reasons they brought him in because he's familiar and likes the offensive system and comfortable in it. So this thing should not have taken as long as it did to kind of get turned around. And I think just the slow, kind of Titanic-like altering of courses, getting the play action system, implemented more often, getting some motion, going to make the changes along the offensive line. Everything seemed to take longer than it should have, and ultimately cost this team a playoff berth. Anybody that watched that game last night, I think, can see the opportunity that was lost to the Saints. I think everybody would agree that the Saints were every bit as good, if maybe not better, than the Bucs, but they didn't accomplish what the Bucs did, and that somebody's got to pay the price for that.
Just a couple more minutes here with Jeff Duncan, of course, on Twitter at Jeff Duncan _. Make sure you have the underscore at the back, or you get a whole different Jeff Duncan. Long story there, but anyway, Jeff, the story always becomes that, okay, well, we'll have time to reflect on Pete Carmichael's time in New Orleans, his legacy, his involvement in this great run, but obviously who's next? So, I could leave it open-ended, but I want to start with a name because it was reported that the Saints met with John Gruden in Tampa a couple of weeks ago. Is that the most likely path they follow here to bring John Gruden to New Orleans?
I don't think most likely it would be the right way to characterize it. I do think he's under consideration and will be considered for some role with the team. What that is, I don't know. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. I think there's a lot on the table there. I think they're looking at all options. As I understand it, John Gruden wants to be a head coach in the NFL. That's what he's done for 2 decades, 2 different stops. That's his goal, to get back. Whether that happens or not, I think, remains to be seen, considering everything that's happened with him. He may have to get his foot in the door at a lower level, and that might be where a role on the Saints offensive staff or another team's offensive staff comes into play. But I know he is definitely under consideration, but it's very complicated with the John Gruden situation. So that's why I think more likely if he came into the Saints, it would in some other type of role on the offense, like a senior offensive assistant, the way Dennis Allen did a few years ago, as opposed to the OC, because I think the Saints need to strike quickly on that.
Well, then that's his path to being a head coach, same as Dennis Allen. Just come in as an analyst, make you the OC, and then you'll be the next guy. Could be.
Get it right.
Last thing, how desirable is the Saints OC job?
Well, there's only 32 of them, so there's always going to be a demand for that. But you make a good point. I think everyone in the league knows it's a make-or-break year coming up for Dennis Allen. That's not always the easiest backdrop to hire a top candidate. You have to look at the landscape around the league. We see it in the last week or so. Look how many jobs have turned over. So there's not a lot of job security for Dennis Allen right now. He knows that. This is the biggest hire he's going to make to save his job. The quarterback is his. The defensive staff he turned over a year ago, that's all his. Now he's turning over the offensive staff. And I think there are going to be some more names surface here in the next 24 hours on that staff. So this is it for Dennis Allen. He's got to nail this hire. And the thing that I think is most interesting, Matt, and I know we got to wrap up, but I asked him last week about this, and I put this on social media today. I asked him if he's happy with the offense, if he would consider a scheme change, and he indicated he thinks this offensive system, which is basically the Sean Payton offense, John Gruden offense, he thinks it's proven to work in the league. Now, does that mean that Mickey Loomis didn't tell him last week, nope, we need to change, let's open it all up? But just think about it logically. Your quarterback's worked in this system for a decade. You're the head coach. You got to win this year no matter what. Are you going to take that risk and bring in a whole new offensive scheme and staff and try and convert it to your quarterback? There's a lot of risk there. And I'm not saying it won't happen. They bring in somebody completely different, unfamiliar with the Saints offensive system. But just knowing Dennis Allen and how he's operated, I would lean more toward them finding someone either in the building to keep running this offense or someone that's worked in this system.
He is Jeff Duncan, of course, NOLA.com, on Twitter at @JeffDuncan_. Give him a follow. Big day down in New Orleans. We'll be following. Jeff, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time.
Anytime, Matt. Thanks for having me on, bud.
It's our pleasure. Be well, Jeff Duncan. It is After Further Review, brought to you by DraftKings, official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, where the Saints do not find themselves. But DraftKings is helping you bring in the playoffs and make it more electrifying. If you're a new customer, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on any game, and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. It's that easy. It's at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Plus, everyone gets a no-sweat same-game parlay for every playoff game day. That's now through the Super Bowl. It's at DraftKings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. One word, Baton Rouge. New customers bet $5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets. It's only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with the promo code Baton Rouge. The crown is yours. 21 plus, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Opt-in required. One no-sweat token issued per eligible day after opt-in. No-sweat bonus bet issued based on amount of losing qualifying bet. Eligibility, max reward limits, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Licensing partner, Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537. That was weird. Otter Locks is in about 15 minutes from right now, so we'll see what the Otters got for us. No football tonight, so I'm sure we'll have hardwood picks. I mentioned on Saturday, Jimmy was 5-1 on his college basketball plays on Saturday. My guy, the Otter, is locked in on the hardwood already. So we'll look forward to Otter Locks. We'll get what we're betting on tonight in about 15 minutes from right now. We have had a lot today. Thanks to Shay Dixon, who was here last hour, Sean Salsbury, Jeff Duncan just a bit ago. Opened up the show today with my reaction to the Pete Carmichael news. You can catch all of that on demand, AFR On Demand, presented by Brett Golf. You go to your favorite app store, your favorite podcast app. Just search After Further Review. You'll see our show there in its entirety, hour by hour. Or you can always go to the After Further Review YouTube channels as well and subscribe up to AFR Saints and AFR LSU. We'd appreciate that. I want to hear from you. If you got feedback, you can hit us up. Tweet us at Matt Moscona. You can jump in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat, or you can text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. We'll get some of your reaction to a really newsy day where a handful of Saints football staffers are out, and Dennis Allen, in what is a make-or-break year, will be rebuilding a chunk of his staff, including Pete Carmichael, the longest tenured member of the Saints staff at 18 years, fired today down in New Orleans. Okay, it's After Further Review. We'll knock out a quick break, and we'll continue on AFR.
AFR.
Glow Resources, complete employer solutions. Check them out online at glowresources.com, G-L-O, glowresources.com, if you own your business. That's who I'm talking to here. I'm talking about the business owners or those working at a business in charge of hiring. Don't go it alone. If you've been caught in the hiring rat race since COVID, how hard it is to find qualified employees that stay, employee retention, Glow Resources can help. And honestly, y'all, Glow Resources is just fun to work with. Go meet Jareth Nakan. Go tour their office right there on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge near Pennington, and you will be blown away. You'll understand why people like to work with them. They're fun and easy to work with, and they get results. With thousands of employees placed at jobs all over the world, Glow Resources has a 93% retention rate. If you need help hiring, you need Glow Resources. GlowResources.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging along. She likes the way.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Few things hit like that, Muse, especially when it's been a long time since you heard it. You know what I mean? It brings back so many great memories.
So many, Matt, I could say I feel like I just heard it.
You could say that, but you'd be a liar.
Well,
appreciate our friends at Sunshine, title sponsor of our Tuesday shows. Saw on Facebook.com earlier today, Muse. They posted pictures of frozen tractors.
Oh.
We're just not used to it down here, Muse. We're just not used to all the frozen weather. It is wild. I had a convo with one of our consultants earlier today who's from Green Bay. Who's from Green Bay? You know what I mean? Like, there's like 6 people who are from Green Bay. But Lori is from Green Bay, and we're talking earlier today. And she spent a long time in her career in Atlanta and Tampa and other places where it was nice.
Yeah.
They went back to Green Bay at one point and was a little thrown off when there was a snow day and like, all right, kids off of school today. Nope. You better bundle her up and get to school, man. But anyway, I hope everybody's being safe out there with all the weather. Beautiful day, but ice on the road and all that. It's dangerous. All right, it's after further review, and we're glad you're aboard with us. Otter Locks coming up in less than 10 minutes. We'll see what Jimmy's betting on tonight. Weird day today. That's not the right adjective to use. It was a newsy day today, of course, around New Orleans. We spent a lot of the show today talking about the firing of Pete Carmichael. And thanks to Jeff Duncan, who gave the context, today was the first day that the staff was back in the building, the holiday yesterday. And so this was maybe the appropriate timing after they had done all the exit interviews and made the determination of what they're going to do. So we'll wait and see what direction the Saints go with offensive coordinator. Jeff said it's unlikely you see in a make-or-break year that Dennis Allen would completely implement a totally new offense with his $100 million quarterback. So do they promote from within? That would be Ronald Curry. That would make the most sense there. Is there someone else familiar with this offense that they could slide in, or familiar with Derek Carr? That's why maybe the John Gruden angle makes the most sense. But we'll follow as that shoe has dropped, and a lot of Saints fans wanted to see change, some acknowledgement that even at 9-8, this season was not what it was expected to be, and you got that today, at least to a degree. The other sort of bit of news today, some sad news. Former Saints linebacker Ronald Powell, former Florida Gator, died at the age of 32. The NFLPA announced that news on Twitter. And Powell was a fifth-round pick back in the 2014 draft and played in 14 games as a rookie for the Saints. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm doing this a bit off the cuff, I'm almost positive, I don't know, Muse, if you can check me on this, but I'm almost positive that Ronald Powell was the player the Saints drafted with the pick they got from the Eagles when they traded Darren Sproles. When they traded Sproles to the Eagles, they used that fifth-round pick on Powell. But no cause of death was given, at least not that I've seen as of yet. But condolences to Ronald Powell, his family, those who knew him. Ronald Powell, 32 years old, dead at the age of 32. All right, it is after further review. As I mentioned, we're going to get to Otter Locks here in a second. Got to quickly remind you about Traction, TractionSports.com. TractionSports.com. We're counting down now. We're less than 2 weeks away from the start of practice for spring baseball and spring softball. So parents, if you're going to register your son or daughter for spring baseball or spring softball, get that done now. They're going to play in the spring baseball league, spring softball league. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Preseason practice begins in less than 2 weeks. So actually 2 weeks from today, the 29th. 2 weeks from yesterday, the 29th. So we're less than 2 weeks away from the start of preseason practice. So start to think about the spring. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Traction, where champions are made. The divisional playoffs are set, and I know, by the way, just very quickly, I know everyone keeps asking about LSU's staff and when hires are going to be made, et cetera. And, you know, I don't have those answers, but we did talk a little bit about it yesterday. I know yesterday was a holiday. A lot of people weren't here. And to my understanding, and Shay alluded to this a little bit earlier today, that you know, Brian Kelly may not be in a great rush to hire. It's more about getting it right at this point because you don't really have – it is – okay. Well, thought so. So we did. Where is it? There it is. Okay, Shea has it. Okay, good. Was waiting on this to drop before the show. LSU is breaking now, and Shea has it. So I'll go with it that Shea has it. So it was. I told Muse about 15 minutes ago. I was like, be on the lookout. We might get the Corey Raymond news before the end of the show. So it is breaking out. LSU's finalizing a deal to bring Corey Raymond back to Baton Rouge. As Shea notes, one of the architects of DBU headed back to coach for the Tigers. So we talked about this. Corey was the first name we heard, and I don't think made it any secret that Corey wanted to come back to LSU. And in the name of full disclosure, these talks were happening in earnest when we were in New York for the Heisman. And probably were happening before then. And yesterday here on the show, one of the things that we talked about was that there was a little bit of a disagreement here. That you had coaches on staff and administrators at LSU that wanted to bring Corey Raymond back. And Corey wanted to come back. But there were also people on staff and administrators at LSU that wanted to go a different direction. And the thing I told you yesterday is ultimately we come down to who had the final say. Ultimately, who was going to make the decision. That may seem obvious. Well, it's the head coach. He gets to make the decision. And yes, but everybody is somebody's boss. Like you could say, shouldn't, if you bring Blake Baker, shouldn't Blake Baker have the autonomy to build his staff? You say, well, Brian Kelly's the head coach. He should have autonomy to build his staff. Well, Brian Kelly works for Scott Woodward. And shouldn't Scott Woodward have say if there's someone he wanted or didn't want to hire or sign that check? And then ultimately there's boosters and people who sign those checks. And I mean, everybody has a boss, right? So it really was an issue of who was going to make this final decision. Now, you know how I feel about this. I mean, the day LSU made the staff changes, the day Corey Raymond was announced he wasn't going back to Florida, I told you, bring him home. Because what you have done now in bringing Corey Raymond back to LSU is, yes, Corey is a great defensive backs coach. And I laugh at the people who say, well, the last 5 years, look at talent matters, situation matters. Are you going to peg LSU's defensive struggles in 2020 on Corey Raymond or on Bo Pelini? Come on. Like, if you're pegging it on Corey Raymond, it's because you're looking for a reason to do that. The bottom line is that man gets players. And you could have the best coaches in the world. If you don't have players, you're not winning a national championship. You can win games. You can win games. You're not winning a national championship, which is the expectation here. And when you look at what LSU has done, with Frank Wilson now as a recruiting coordinator, you bring Bo Davis back. Now you're adding Corey Raymond back to the staff. Brad Davis has been an incredible recruiter. Joe Sloan did an incredible job getting Bryce Underwood to LSU. I mean, you have assembled now a staff that knows how to build championship rosters. And that's what it takes. If you're going to line up against Georgia and Alabama and now Texas coming into the league after they just went to a college football playoff, you have got to have players 1 to 85 that looks like theirs. And LSU didn't have that this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You want to fix that in a hurry? This guy will do it. So we're waiting on official word from LSU, but Shay's reporting it, and that's as reputable a source as anyone. I trust Shay. And, you know, we kind of heard scuttle that this was possibly going to get done today anyway. So waiting on it officially from LSU, but there is the news that we had kind of anticipated for some time. Took longer than I think many thought it might, but Corey Raymond coming back to LSU. So, you know, when all those staff changes came, you know, Blake Baker was a guy that was identified first as a target. Brian Kelly got the deal done. And Bo Davis and Corey Raymond were very much in play, and it certainly was not a straight path, a straight line to getting that done, but they got it done. And you've built a really impressive staff. Now, there's the other question of, is Corey Raymond going to be a cornerbacks coach, and then they'll hire a DB's coach, a safeties coach, or will Corey coach corners and safeties? And my understanding is Blake Baker will coach linebackers. That's the plan, at least as of now. Blake Baker will coach linebackers. He coached safeties at Missouri. But that he wants to have a separate corner and safeties coach. So if Corey's coming in to coach corners, you would likely hire a safeties coach. And then you would look to the offensive side, where I think we mentioned it yesterday, there's a lot of movement behind and trending toward promoting Sloan and Hankton as co-OCs with Sloan calling plays, and then you'd bring in a tight ends coach. And the two names I've given you were Slade Nagel from Tulane and John McNulty, who was an analyst at Alabama this past year, who was a tight ends coach under Brian Kelly for 2 seasons in South Bend. And obviously Kelly didn't bring McNulty to Baton Rouge, and you may say, well, why is that? Well, he hired Mike Denbrock, and Mike Denbrock was his OC, who also coached tight ends. So it's not just the coaches, it's how you structure responsibilities as well. So if you're just joining us, Shay Dixon, others reporting Corey Raymond headed back to LSU to join Brian Kelly's staff. Okay, let me knock out our final break. Otter Locks is next.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 amazing hotel properties in Baton Rouge. The Watermark downtown, the Renaissance in Southtown Baton Rouge, right there on Bluebonnet, across from Perkins Row in the Mall of Louisiana. There's always amazing events going on at the Renaissance as well. Been telling you about Tallulah and the really great event. The evenings at Tallulah that they have are so fun. There's a Sip and Savor event coming up with 7-3 Distilling. It's going to be on January the 19th. So today's the 16th. So we're talking about 3 days. So for this Friday, January the 19th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m., evenings at the Renaissance, courtesy of 7-3 Distilling. I love this. You're going to have an exclusive tasting experience. I'm going to do an Amaretto Sour and Fruity Pebble Milk Punch. Oh, my God. Are you telling me there's a cocktail that tastes like Fruity Pebble Milk? I'm fired up about that. You can experience it well at the Renaissance Hotel. Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques, Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dane Brugler. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch, we come final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. One thing left to do, let's find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
So we turn to the one and only, the incomparable and often incomprehensible, the Ott Father himself, Jimmy Ott. Otter, how are you?
What's up, Matthew? How you doing, brother?
Doing awesome, man. Good day, and hopeful that your heater on the hardwood continues rolling tonight, man.
Yeah, man. I wish, what we're going to do with the Eagles done, man.
Hey, man, that was a rocking chair. We needed it after. Felt like I told you yesterday. I feel like we were right side losers with Detroit and the over.
Yeah.
And just disappointing, obviously, with Pittsburgh. But man, needed that one last night, and that was a rocking chair.
Yeah, I'm just saying I've been against the Eagles. Now, look, I was against them when they were still winning barely against Kansas City. We had Kansas City against the Eagles, and they somehow found a way to win with 230 yards. And I just thought they were way overvalued by the betting public as well. They got more problems than that. Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's get right to it. Okay. Matt, first of all, St. John's, Rick Pitino, man, got it going, man. He's doing really good. They're in right now comfortably. NEC and Ken Palm in the low 30s. Seton Hall has really been on a roll as of late, but man, St. John's should have beat Creighton on the road on Saturday. They lost by 1, missed a shot at the end. Creighton is stronger than Seton Hall. I respect Seton Hall to run there on Shazina Holloway, but I'm going with St. John's minus the 1 on the road there. We had on the podcast this past week, we faded 2 brands. So I thought they were really performing way below what they normally do. And that's UCLA and Arkansas. Well, Arkansas lost by 20-plus again over the weekend, and we still don't think the odds makers have caught up with them just yet. It's 3 straight Sweet 16s, Matt. Not even close. At home again, A&M. They did win and cover on Saturday.
1 minute remaining.
I got at Arkansas. BYU and Iowa State, similar, power ratings. But BYU's at home in Provo, going with BYU in that one. And in Boise State, considerably stronger power rating than UNLV, taking them at home as well. And then one unranked team favored over a ranked team tonight. That's 3 out the last 5. This team won in this situation by 18 Saturday, taking New Mexico. St. John's, A&M, BYU, Boise, New Mexico.
All right. Tomorrow downtown?
No. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We're at walk-on, the original walk-on.
My bad. The holiday and the ice have gotten me thrown off.
Kids go back to school Thursday.
Thank you, Otter. Have a great night. Muse, Paulie, appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, reminds you about Pure Restoration, pure-restoration.com. That's pure-restoration.com. Our friends over at Pure Restoration, man, especially right now, it's so worth mentioning with all of the ice, with all the rain. If you've had damage, if you've had water intrusion, if you need remediation services, Pure Restoration is the best. They will kill mold. They will remove odor. If you have other remediation issues where if you do have water intrusion, Pure Restoration can help. Remember, this is Mold Zero rebranded, so it's the same company. Patented non-toxic dry fog, the thing I've talked about forever to kill mold, remove odor, but they're also general contractors, so they have an expanded menu of services to where if you need other demo and build back, they can do that for you as well. It's Pure Restoration. Check them out online at pure-restoration.com. You can learn more about what they do. pure-restoration.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for